Hey guys, what's up? It's Kaan here. Today I'm going to show you how you can make a brushed steel material in Blender. So as you can see, this is going to be the final result. This is the node setup. It's quite simple actually. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. We're gonna remove the default cube. We're gonna make a UV sphere. We're gonna enable smooth shading. I'm gonna go to the modifier panel. We're gonna add a subdivision surface modifier. I'm gonna crank it up to 3. And then we're gonna head over to the shading panel, and here we're going to use the rendered mode. And if you have this problem like me, then untick both of these so you can get back to the HDR map. Okay, we're gonna move this up a bit so we have a bit more space. We're gonna add new, and okay, so what we need to do is if you want to use the principled BSDF shader, you have to make sure that you use 1 as metallic value, because because the shader is for PBR stuff, they are either dielectric or metallic materials. And if you have a dielectric material, you're going to use 0. But if you have a metallic material, you're going to use 1. Now, to get a sense of how brushed steel is looking, I'm going to use a reference photo. There we go. So this is the image we're going to use as a reference. I'm not going to link this. If you want some kind of reference photo, you can just go to Google Images, and there are lots of images there about brushed steel. So if we inspect the image now a bit, we can see that there are a lot of lines in here. And what we need to do is we need to achieve, or rather we need to use a texture which makes these kind of lines. And to do that, we can use a so-called noise texture. Okay. And if you want to preview how the texture is looking on your model, you can take the factor output, put it into surface, and now you can preview it. For example, if you scale it, you can see, oh, okay, it's doing something. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to use a so-called texture coordinate and a mapping node. Put that in here. You can actually use the search to search for stuff. It's a lot faster for certain nodes because they're kind of like hidden. Then we're gonna take the generate part, put it into vector, take the vector part, put it into vector. Okay, and what this will enable us is it will enable us to make some adjustments on the texture for the location, rotation, and scale. So, for example, if we want to make kind of like a line texture out of the noise texture, we can use the scalings to do that. So if I take the x-axis scale and increase it, you can see that the texture is kind of starting to look like lines. Okay, so I put that to 50, and I also increased this part to like 30 something. Okay, so it's like really small lines, and also increase the roughness, so the details for the lines increase a bit. Also, we're gonna add some kind of distortion because there are still some imperfections. Then we're gonna move this to the left, and then we're gonna add a color ramp node. It's under converter color ramp. Put it in here, and we're going to, or rather what this is enabling us is, it enables us to control the white and black values of the texture. So what does that mean? If I, for example, take the black part and move it to the right, you can see that the contrast is increasing for the black part. You can also do the same for the white part, as you can see. Okay. In order to make a steel texture to look like this, we need to use the principled BSDF shader. In particular, we need to use the roughness part and the normal map part. And the normal map is quite easy to do. There's a bump map where you can put this into the height node and then the normal into normal. That's quite easy to do. We just need to make sure that this texture is looking good. So let's start off with the roughness part, just so you can see how this is looking. I'm gonna take the BSDF, put it into service, and now you can see there's some kind of weird things happening. So you can see that it's quite reflective still, but we have some kind of lines in here. And that's exactly what we want. And to explain what is happening exactly if we put this back into surface. Basically what Blender is doing is it takes all the black values and makes them completely reflective, and all the white values and makes them kind of diffuse. So the more black it is, the more reflective it is, the more white it is, the more diffuse it is. So if I, for example, we make this kind of like almost black, and you're gonna see that it's almost completely reflective without anything. There are like some lines, but that's because we left some lines in there. Okay, so now we can plug this back in here so we can see the changes if we make changes here. And if we change it up a bit, you can see that something is happening here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make the reflective part of the material a bit less reflective, because I want it to look a little bit like, not like ice, but a bit icy. So we're gonna take this, put it up here a bit, and we're gonna take this, put it like here, and also make this a bit less, so it's not that diffuse. It's not completely diffuse, because even though the brush part is like, if you think about it, the brush parts are less reflective than the not brush parts, because the brush parts are basically making the surface more imperfect than the reflective parts or the unbrushed parts. But they are not completely diffuse, they still are reflective but less reflective. So now it kind of looks weird still. It's like, okay, that looks like it's brushed, but it's still weird. And the reason for that is because we don't have normal maps. So to add that, we're gonna take the, as I said, the bump node. We're gonna take the color part, put it into height, and take the normal part, put it into normal. And if we do that, you can see that something funky is happening. And what we need to do is we need to adjust the strength. So if we adjust the strength, you can see that it looks a lot better now. So yeah, we can play around with the sliders a bit. Okay, I think that looks quite alright. You can also play with the color a bit to make it more reflective or less reflective. That looks alright. Maybe a bit less. Yeah, there you go. I think that looks good. We can also adjust the scaling. If you want bigger lines, you can decrease the scaling. You can also increase it. Let's go to like 40 or maybe 50. And one more thing we need to do is, if you look closely, you can see that if I decrease the scaling, you can see that the brush parts are actually pushing outwards, which is not correct. If you brush something, steel in this case, then the brush parts are going inwards a bit, because you're taking away of the material. And we need to accommodate for that. So to do that, we can use the invert, and we just invert it. Now it's facing inwards. If I scale this again, now it's actually correct. As I said, you can use the color ramp to make modifications to it. You can adjust how you like to make it fit your scene. And yeah, that's it, guys. That's how you make a brushed steel material. It's pretty simple to do. Basically just one noise texture with some adjustments on the scaling, one bump texture for the normal maps, one principled BSDF shader, and you got yourself a brushed steel material. Yeah, if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, to share with your friends. I would appreciate it. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. See you then. Bye.